Good vibes. Hello guys, welcome to Run English Words again. Well, this is part 2 of negotiation video. You know, last video I just read a sample of negotiation article and I borrowed from industry website and training industry website. Yes, thank you training industry. So, by the way, don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the like button, notification bell, leave a comment, nice comment, yes. And after reading the whole article, we're gonna read it together. So there's 10 questions about it, yes. On my other YouTube channel, Rony Beefer, link in description. So let's dive in quickly. Understanding negotiating styles. You know, it's the whole article talks about negotiation. Negotiating, yes. Look at this D. We can read it as D. Letter D. Why? Because in American, between two vowels A and I, we can change T to D. So, understanding negotiating styles. Okay, May 3rd, 2016. Heather Maker Green. Hi, Heather. So, ever wonder. This is the intro of article. Ever wonder why negotiators approach the situation from completely different viewpoints, and some are unsuccessful, while for others it goes easily and smoothly. It might be that it might be that they have what? Similar or very different styles. Without, yes, guys, focus on without awareness of one's own style, my own style, someone's own style. So without awareness of one's own style and idea, without idea of what style a negotiation counterpart brings, and the advantages, and without the advantages and disadvantages of working with differing styles. So what? It may make, after without all of these, it may make for a bumpier road to successful outcomes. For a bumpier road to successful outcomes. Results. So, negotiators have a tendency, direct way, to negotiate from one of 5 styles of, look at this, of. Negotiators have a tendency to negotiate from one of 5 styles. What are these 5 styles? Competing, accommodating, avoiding, compromising, or collaborative. Competing is important. Accommodating, also important. Avoiding, compromising, or collaborative. Collaborative, yes. Point. These are adopted from who? Yes. A question. Adopted from who? Thomas Kilmann's conflict styles. Thomas Kilmann. Yes, adopted from Thomas Kilmann. But look at this style from Thomas Kilmann's conflict styles. That's right. And tend to correlate well and tend to correlate well. Tend to correlate well in negotiation. Correlate well in negotiation. Especially given that, considering, given that. Look at this, given that. Search Google. Given that, conjunction, given that, in consideration of the fact that, in consideration of the fact that, yes, since, considering that, seeing that, being that, in as much as, okay, thank you. Given that there's sometimes tension when two or more parties are trying to meet their differing or conflicting needs. To meet, yes. Look at these two parties. When two or more parties are trying for what? Trying to meet their differing or conflicting needs. Okay. Relationship, substance, avoiding, compromising, collaborating, competing. Yes. Vibes. 2016, Accordance Inc. Incorporated. Yes, incorporated. All rights reserved. All right. According to observation over the last 2 decades, according to, look at this, according to,
in accordance with,
or according to observation over the last 2 decades, of hundreds of negotiator behaviors and perspectives, and confirmed through negotiation literature. According to observation over the last 2 decades, over hundreds of negotiator behaviors and perspectives, and confirmed through negotiation literature or literature. Generally, people approach negotiations. Generally, people approach negotiations from one of these 5 styles. Approach negotiations from one of these 5 styles and exhibit the certain characteristics. Or a certain characteristic. Competing. Number 1. Competing. Negotiators that show this style are assertive. Tough people. Assertive. Self-confident. And focused on the deal and results. These individuals, these persons, tend to pursue their own concerns, to follow their own concerns, sometimes at their counterparts' expense, sometimes took advantage, sometimes at their counterparts' expense, and in the extreme, look at this, it is adverb.
In the extreme,
extremely, very, look, to an extreme degree, and in the extreme can become aggressive and domineering controller. On the assertive versus cooperative scale, this style is higher in what? In assertiveness, and lower in cooperativeness. Higher in assertiveness, lower in cooperativeness. Full stop. Using the substance versus relationship access. What does it mean, access? Access. Hub. Okay, not this X. Not this X.
Axe.
Not this X. This X. Access. Access is a singular. Access, plural.
Axis.
Axis. Center line. Vertical. Horizontal. Okay? Access about relationship substance. Using the substance versus a relationship access. Competing negotiators tend to be more focused on the substance than the relationship. Competing negotiators tend to be more focused on the substance than the relationship. All right. Number 2. Avoiding. Negotiators that exhibit this style are generally less assertive and apprehensive. What does it mean, apprehensive? Apprehensive. Worried, uneasy, alarmed, and anxious. Look at this, apprehensive. Less assertive and apprehensive. They prefer to avoid stepping. Not avoid to step or avoid step. Avoid stepping. They prefer to avoid stepping into or creating tension. They prefer to avoid what? To avoid stepping into or creating. To avoid creating. To avoid stepping into. To avoid stepping into or creating tension. They stay neutral, objective, or removed from the situation, or leave responsibility to their counterparts. They stay neutral, objective, or removed from the situation, or leave responsibility to their counterpart. Leave responsibility. I will leave my responsibility to you. Leave responsibility. Remember that T between two vowels, we can change it to D. Responsibility to their counterparts. The individual does not immediately pursue their own interests. The individual does not immediately pursue their own interests or those of the other person or those of the other person and there is an element of self-sacrifice in this mood. Self-sacrifice. This style is low in assertiveness and in cooperativeness, both. This style is low in assertiveness and in cooperativeness, and not focused on either the substance of the agreement or the relationship. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Number 3. Accommodating. Negotiators that exhibit this style focus on maintaining relationships with the other party. It's clear. They tend to smooth over tensions. They tend to smooth over tensions, minimize differences, and are most concerned with maintaining a good rapport. Rapport, it means link or tie. Look at it.
Rapport.
Rapport or rapport. T, the letter T, is silent. Bond, link, accord, sympathy. harmony, affinity. Alright. Rapport or rapport. A good rapport. I have a good rapport with you. Yeah. Rapport. And satisfying the needs of the other party. Look at this. Satisfying the needs of the other party. This style is lower in assertiveness and higher in cooperativeness. These negotiators tend to emphasize the relationship as more important than the substance of the agreement. These negotiators tend to emphasize. Negotiators tend to emphasize the relationship as more important than the substance of the agreement. Okay, number 4. Negotiators that exhibit this style often split the difference, exchange concessions, exchange concessions, and seek a quick middle ground solution. Middle ground solution. I have a middle ground solution. I have a quick middle ground solution. I seek a quick middle ground solution. Yes. Which tends, this is important idiom, middle ground. Between these two words, there's a hyphen. Look at this hyphen. Yes. Which tends to end in moderate satisfaction of both parties' needs. Both parties' needs. I see both parties' needs. This style is intermediate in assertiveness. This style is intermediate in assertiveness and cooperativeness. Intermediate. Look at this style is intermediate in what? In assertiveness and cooperativeness, and more focused on creating a decent agreement. Yes. Do you have a decent agreement? Decent, yes. Suitable. Decent agreement. Relatively efficiently. Look at this T. It's silence or not silent. While maintaining some relationship. Collaborating. Negotiators that exhibit this style are often honest. This H is silent. And communicative or communicative. Good.
Communicative.
Communicative or communicative. Look at this T, guys. The T between two vowels are changing to D. Yes, communicative. Honest. They focus on finding novel and creative solutions that fully satisfy the concerns of all parties. That fully, completely satisfy the concerns of all parties, and suggest many ideas for consideration, before deciding. This style is high in assertiveness and in cooperativeness, promoting both the relationship and the substance of the agreement. At hand as very important. At hand. What does it mean at hand? What does it mean?
At hand.
At hand, yes. Nearby, yes. Phrase of hand, yes. Available, handy, to hand. Nearby. Alright. At hand as very important. Promoting both the relationship and the substance of the agreement at hand as very important. At hand as very important. These negotiators tend to value tend to value taking the time. Taking the time. Look at this. These negotiators tend to value what? Tend to value taking the time to create optimal long-term outcomes. Optimal long-term outcomes. What does it mean, optimal? It means best. Optimal. Optimal. Best. Optimal, it is formal, not informal. Optimal long-term outcomes and leaving value on the table. All styles serve. All styles work. And each of them has advantages and risks. And sometimes one style may be more useful in certain situations. One style may be more useful in certain situations than in others. Certain situations. For example, as an accommodating negotiator, one should recognize that with more transactional discussions, they may not need to take as much time to build a relationship. They may not need what? To take as much time to build a relationship. If the deal works with their own interests. On the other hand, if they are negotiating with someone they will be involved with for the long term, whether there is a new client or recent hire, recent worker, recent employee, at the company, they will want to work on ways to develop a strong working relationship, a strong working relationship, and strive for the best deal to avoid setting a bad precedent. What does it mean, precedent? What does it mean, precedent? Model, example. Precedent. It is something preceding something in the past. Adjective, but noun, something in the past, but we can consider it as a model. Okay? Alright. And strive, finding for the best deal to avoid setting a bad precedent. In order to be the most effective negotiator, one must recognize one's own tendency. So maybe you can change it to you must recognize your own tendency. Your own tendency. One must recognize one's own tendency, assess as best as possible, value as best as possible their counterpart's style. Yes, my counterpart's style. Yes, counterpart style is maybe collaborative. And adjust their own. Setting their own to allow for smoother negotiations, Finally, in general, phrase of general, usually, mainly, as a whole, generally.
In general.
If negotiators strive for using a collaborative style, if negotiators strive for using a collaborative style, the final one, they incorporate the relationship focus, they incorporate, mix the relationship focus of an accommodating style, incorporate what? The relationship focus of an accommodating style, the assertiveness on own needs of a competitive style, assertiveness on own needs of a competitive style, the caution and observational skills, the caution and observational skills, yes, of the avoiding style, and value maximization or maximization, value maximization often neglected, and value maximization often neglected by the compromising style, while the collaborative style may not make sense. This mode can be especially effective with business situations because of the long-term nature of the relationships internally and externally. This mode can be especially effective with business situations because of the long-term nature of the relationships internally and externally, as well as the need for strong substantive negotiation outcomes. Yes. Okay. We are here at the end of this article. Yes, negotiators have a tendency to negotiate from one of 5 styles. Twitter. Ready for more? Improve your negotiating skills. Download the free ebook, electronic book, Experts Perspectives on Soft Skills, Business Email. Go to the ebook. We are committed to your privacy. By completing this form, you consent to receive communications from training industry. We use the information you provide to connect you with great content and resources about corporate learning and development. Yes. You may unsubscribe from these communications at any time. For more information, check out our privacy policy. Yes. This topic is proudly sponsored by, proudly or proud. Proud, it is an adjective. Proudly, adverb. Alright guys, so I hope it was useful and we learned something about negotiation, so we can negotiate in business life, in school, with the neighbors. It is useful for us. So thank you, training industry. This is not it. And check my other channel, Rony Beefer, for further information and more questions about this article. Don't forget TikTok and Instagram in description. And see you next video. Good luck. Peace.